it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am back with another project using the Auburn Lane collection, and this is in collaboration with Memory Lane Scrapbook Store. And I am also playing with some of my Pattern Happy stamps today. So I started off showing you a sketch that I wanted to work with, and this is one that Sarah Scraps and I are hosting the Rediscover Your Stash event for the month of June. And this is one of the sketch challenges that we issue to that group. So I'm going to go ahead and play with that sketch today. And I'm just taking some gray ink, and that's going to kind of be my combining color today. So I'm using a bunch of different patterns and shapes, and I want to be able to tie them all together. And so a way that I tend to like to do that sometimes is to go ahead and use one kind of color of ink that I'm going to ink all of my edges with. And it just works to really tie everything together. So I went ahead and took papers from that 6x8 paper pad, and I'm using those just to create my strips. And so I'm staying pretty true to this portion of the sketch and just creating a background with all different kinds of strips of pattern paper. So this is a great way to use up some of your 6x6 or 7x10 or 6x6, 12x12 paper pads, as well as your scraps or even branding strips. So any one of those kind of things that tend to get left over and stuck in our stash would be a great thing to use for a layout like this. And that's one of the reasons we have it in the Rediscover Your Stash event this month. So I'm just making sure that I have enough strips to cover my entire layout, and I want to have one extra strip down here at the bottom because in the sketch itself there is an area that has some texture to it. So something other than paper. And so I've pulled out some trims that I'm going to use for that. And then I went ahead and layered up some additional pattern papers down here in that bottom left-hand corner, which is where there is an embellishment cluster in the sketch. And so here's one of those trims, and I have just pulled a metallic color that matches the metallic in the pattern paper. And that's going to kind of go along the bottom edge of all of my strips of paper. And I'm just making sure that I kind of have that lined up as straight as I can. And then I'm also going to grab a little piece and put it down here in this bottom cluster. And then I'm also going to grab this Tim Holtz ribbon, and this is one that is really fun to have in your stash because it is dyeable, so you can make it any color you want. But I'm just going to keep it the white color today, and it's going to go kind of through the middle. So I'm just adding in a little bit of texture to kind of change things up. So then I'm going to go ahead and grab my Pattern Happy Heart stamps, and these are one of my favorite stamp sets from Pattern Happy. And I'm going to use them on some of the pattern paper from this collection to create my own little embellishment hearts. So in the sketch there is a row of embellishments, or kind of a column that goes along the right hand side of the photo. And I want to go ahead and recreate that element. So I went ahead and stamped with that same gray ink a bunch of these little hearts, all from that stamp set. And then I'm going to put the little ones on dimensional adhesive, and I'm going to put the larger ones just glued flat on the layout. And that's going to kind of start me on that embellishment area. So it's not going to finish it, but it's going to give me a start. So once I have all those glued down, I'm going to go ahead and put my photo down. And then I'm going to continue with the embellishing. So I'm going to go back to my Auburn Lane, all of the different embellishments I have. So I'm starting with the puffy stickers, and they have all these little tiny buttons. And it worked out perfectly with the sketch because the sketch itself actually even shows buttons. And then they have this little label that says beautiful, and I'm going to add that to the cluster down in the bottom. So I'm trying to make sure that when I add the different types of embellishments, so when I add stickers or when I add puffy stickers or ephemera of any kind, whatever I'm adding it to each of those elements. So my main two embellishment clusters are that right side vertical column and then that bottom left-hand corner. So I want to make sure that I am putting embellishments in each that are going to kind of carry through the entire layout. So then I'm going to go ahead and I grabbed a couple little tabs to put in that top left-hand corner of my photo, and that's just going to kind of be a teeny tiny cluster, not an actual like embellishment cluster, but I am going to add a few little details up there. And so I'm just going through all of the rub-on sheets, and I'm pulling out all of the little buttons and hearts that come in this pack. And there are a ton, you guys. So if you're just pulling out the teeny tiny rub-ons, it's enough to do a bunch of layouts. I think I've done 2 or 3 just with the tiny ones already, and I still have a bunch left. And I'm just going to add those into various little spots throughout my vertical column of embellishments. So I have some hearts, I have some little stars, I have some more of those little buttons, and I'm just adding them scattered throughout that entire column. And I am going to go back and also add one heart down there to the embellishment cluster I have going at the bottom because I want to carry that element over there as well. And these rub-ons are not like the old ones where we have all kinds of issues with getting them off the paper. They come off the paper really, really easily. So no problems making your rub-ons work for this particular collection. And so then I'm just going to look, I want to get a little bit of a detail here on the side of where my title is going to be. And so I'm grabbing the 6x12 sticker sheet this time. And so I've grabbed a floral and a couple little hearts. That little particular sticker says Wander. And so I'm throwing those all in as well. And I really like how this particular collection, the feel of this collection works really well with this photo. So this is just a 4x6 photo of a lighthouse in my hometown. And this is somewhere that I always visit when we go back home. We used to go there a lot as a kid. This is where my senior pictures were taken. So it's something that's kind of been important to me for a long time. So it's one of those places that I always like to go and visit when I go home. And so my title is going to end up being Where the Heart Is. So I already have the word heart up there with some puffy stickers that I had left over from the hip kits. And now I'm going to add where the and then is at the end. So my title is going to say Where the Heart Is. And that just works perfectly for me because this is just somewhere important in my hometown. And those are just some block letters that I'm using. And these are really old. They've been in my stash forever from my mind's eye. So they came in this like now and then pack. You got a bunch of different colors and it has the words and the letters. And so I was trying to get a little of this mustard color in here, but I'm not going to find one. The mustard colored one has like birthday phrases, I think, almost. And so I tried to get a couple in there, but it just didn't work. And that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more detail to that embellishment cluster over my photo. So I've got a heart sticker and a little button. And then I pull out my Mustard Heidi Swap Color Shine, and it just wasn't, it was a little bit too yellowy, like it was going to be too dark. So I went ahead and grabbed some of my shimmers instead, and that gave me just a real light golden color. And so I've added that those splatters all along my embellishment cluster over there on the right hand column, as well as along the one on the bottom. And that's basically going to do it for this layout. So I would definitely challenge you today to go ahead and work with this particular sketch. It's a really fun one for using up some embellishments as well as some scraps, and I will be back to see you again soon. Bye!